What a joke of a roadmap. When are you merging Fresh Start so they're not all dead? Nothing about mounts? What about daggers? What are we doing, devs?
What are we doing, devs?
Hi everybody, welcome to Forged in Eternum, where we talk about all things New World. Today, we're gonna do this episode focused on community questions, and we think the timing is great because we just released the December dev update, and there's a lot of doozies out there. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna have help from Mr. Lovin, and he is going to ask us some questions, and we're gonna do our best to answer them and control our sorrow and sadness if they're too hard.
What a joke of a roadmap. What do you guys have? Part-time employees? This should all be 3 months, not 6, and no PvP content? Unbelievable.
Okay, I will start with the part-time employees. We do not have part-time employees. Well, I mean, there's probably some, but overall our team is
Full-time.
We're full-time, and we have the same number, actually a few more on our 2023 team than we did in 2022. Our second year has a few more people than our first year. So you can expect to see as much or more content and more features coming in this year as we had last year. Very important.
Well, that also ties into the first statement of what a joke of a roadmap. Like, we don't put everything on the roadmap that we share because some of the stuff we'll be able to get sooner. Some things, we have planned, but we're not ready to share them yet. So not everything is on there. We've mentioned some really key features, but there's a lot more there.
Yeah, these are the ones we have super high confidence in and that we're ready to make a commitment to. And full disclosure, I mean, last year we had really high confidence in the roadmap, and we had one of the items slip out, leaderboards, which are now scheduled for, I think, February?
Yeah.
So they're coming up soon.
Before the next major.
Yeah, before the next major release.
Yeah.
What was the rest of the question? Did we answer all of them?
No PvP content? Unbelievable.
We definitely have PvP content. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, I think, like Scott said, so this only contains the stuff we have super high confidence on. One of the things Dan and I had talked about is, the influence game and how we're going to be making some changes to that. And I think that's really going to spice up the open world PvP because I think people are super excited about that part.
And having read through a lot of the questions, I'm sure that OPR will come up and we can talk about that. If it doesn't, we'll ask it ourselves at the end.
What about daggers? What are we doing, devs?
All right.
What are we doing, devs?
An often asked question. So weapons are really hard. I just want to state that up front. We got to get the balance right. So we didn't feel comfortable committing to a date or what the specific weapon is. What I will say is that it will likely not be daggers. We are looking into, I think we need another focus weapon is something we've been talking about. We want to complement that sort of healing, buffing, sort of support class a little more. So the most likely next weapon will be around focus, and we're just not ready to commit to a date on it yet.
Adding a weapon to New World is adding a class to other MMOs. So it's a big change. It can change. It has so many other effects, and we just got the Greatsword out there, and we want to let that get in the wild and let them kind of meta settle in and then figure out where that's going to land. So we are working on the next item, but we're not ready to say what it is or when it's coming. And
then specific to daggers, that's still part of the conversation. Like, this is not something that we're just like, it's not the next weapon, we're not talking about it anymore. It's still part of the conversation.
Nothing about mounts?
Well, mounts are another very, very big feature, and I can tell people that we are working on mounts, but we are nowhere near ready to commit to like when they're going to be done. Mounts are super important in New World. We hear it, we get it. The good news is traveling through the world feels really good right now. So I don't think mounts are critical for that, but I think they are critical as the world gets bigger and as just another thing to accessorize and kind of show off your to give players more agency.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a trade skill around it, an ability to progress and grow something new.
Yeah.
So when are you merging Fresh Start so they're not all dead?
Cool. Yeah, so we have plans to merge Fresh Start Worlds for sure. And we are constantly, every week, looking at opportunities to merge servers if we notice that some aren't doing as well as others. We do want to take into consideration, Fresh Start Worlds are supposed to be these kind of pristine new worlds. So we need to make sure that we're being very conscious about our decisions with it. But there are definitely merges coming for Fresh Start Worlds.
With the upcoming transmog, will we be able to dye skins?
Yes.
Excellent news.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
I can elaborate, but I don't know what the point would be, so.
Well, in my opinion, you guys should get rid of the 10 difficulties of mutations and instead only have 4.
I agree. I think we have too many levels of mutations and it makes finding groups hard. We are looking into squashing them to sort of make matchmaking easier to happen. We're not ready to commit on a date, but we're definitely looking into that and it is going to happen.
And there are other changes that we're looking at longer term that, like, for things like this, the timing is really important. So you'd rather bottle up 2 or 3 things that are going to have that can all kind of be changed at the same time and make a lot of sense.
Interesting.
I agree.
Yeah.
What might we want to bottle that up with?
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
And you said leaderboards are coming in February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And so once again, I do want to apologize. That should have been, I left that out of the roadmap, and that was a miss on my part because it was in last year's, and we just kind of thought we had communicated it, but I don't think I did a very good job there.
So what's with the September part of the roadmap? Are you keeping that for the Game Awards, a new expansion, weapon? Because this is not much content.
We're not comfortable talking about September yet because it's so far in the future, and we have a lot of big things that might land there and they might not. And the last thing we want to do is come out here and say, we're going to have something on the roadmap which missed. Like I mentioned with leaderboards, like that was a miss, and we're not happy about that. I think we're going to have a lot more to share on September as we get, 5-6 months into 2023. We're going to be able to give you a lot more insight into what September and December look like.
Wish they dropped the development around seasonal events and just focus on the game.
Yeah, I think what this one's trying to say is put more features in and take people off seasons. And the thing is, it's different. Like, it's different groups of people who build seasons. Seasons are built by our content team. So it's not like we could say, we're not going to do seasons and we'll pull OPR, Cross-World OPR in by 6 months or anything like that. The reason some things are timed where they are, if you look at Gear Set Storage, Transmog, and Cross-World OPR, it hits the same people who have very specialized skill sets. And, it's unfortunately got to be serialized a little bit.
And the nice thing about those seasonal events is once we have them done, once we have the base, right, in the future we can just make incremental adjustments,
yeah.
and it's not as costly. So we get a lot of future value out of them.
Well, and also, like, we get a lot of feedback on the first one, and then when we're changing it, we don't have to build something from scratch again. We can actually say, oh, players want us to do this, or they want us to do this, and we can definitely make some improvements there.
Yeah, so when you see on the roadmap that we have an event that you've already seen before, you can make an assumption that we've made some adjustments since the last time you saw it. They might not be huge, but we've made some, but that's giving us time to work on those other items that you so deeply want and we want for you.
Forged in Eternum, what's the deal? Is this going to replace dev updates?
No.
Yeah, she said what she said. No, absolutely not. We think the dev updates are important. These are nice supplemental conversations, and one of the goals is to kind of share with the community some of the discussions we have internally and give a little more look behind the curtain of game development. As you're watching these, like, we do read the comments, which, like you said, we're answering some here today. If you want some changes to Forged in Eternum, to the format or anything, let us know. Like, we're open to that for sure.
Yeah, they're very different things that we're giving players with Forged versus the dev updates. It's good to call out that Forged has like a bunch of different topics we're going to cover, from really deep development topics to very light, like the lore one, very light, kind of jovial topics, because we're just excited to get their information. We're more excited about the community question than whatever you jokers are talking about. Just kidding. But the dev updates, I want it to be very clear, because they were coming out like every month, and we're not doing that part of it anymore. So we can't confirm we're going to have a dev update every month. We're going to try to do them as often as possible. But the Forged in Eternum will kind of be what you can see in the inner rim between those videos that gives you an insight into the team. So.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that we want to not do the dev updates every month is we hear the feedback that we're telling you stuff you already know. So we're trying to use the dev updates to tell you things you don't. I mean, some people may know some of this stuff, but we're trying to use it as more, here's some new information for you, like the roadmap in the last one.
All right, and last one I have here is new OPR arena maps is what I was hoping for.
So we've talked a lot about a new map for OPR, and to be honest, there's a divide, right? Like there's some value in adding that, but it also splits groups, it changes matchmaking, how do we decide which map we go on? So we're still talking about, but we don't have that planned in the near future. But we do want to refresh OPR a little bit, and I think we have Crossworld OPR coming out. It was on the roadmap. It wouldn't surprise me if we did some improvements, some tuning, and a little bit of a light revamp on OPR when we release Crossworld.
This would be a great question to the community, actually.
Yeah.
If we were going to make some adjustments to OPR, what would you like to see?
Yeah.
Is that your community question?
That's my community question.
Okay, great. Close us out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us this time on Forged in Eternum. You heard the community question. What changes would you like to see us make to our current OPR? We'd love to hear those. Again, if you like the show, let us know by subscribing or following. It really helps us know that we should keep doing these. And otherwise, we will see you in Eternum. Hey, everybody. Sorry to break in here and interrupt the end of this. But after watching back the video, I realized that we didn't cover some of the major elements that we're engaged in. So our goal is to periodically deliver major content drops, ideally annually. Brimstone that we just released was an example of how we think about those major updates. And I wanted to let you know we're working on another one of those for next year as well. I just am not ready to get into the specifics or the timeline yet because we don't have enough information to where I can say that with any confidence. But I did want to let you know that we are working toward that and we have significant resources aimed at it. Anyway, that's it. I'm sorry for breaking in and thanks again for watching the video.